Hello, this is Adam, and I wanted to talk a little bit about programming a little bit. If you're new to programming, um, I would suggest learning something easier like Python or JavaScript or something, or jQuery, than learning C or C++. Um, so here are some basics about some programming that I've learned over the years. Um, One of the things that you gotta learn about a C-based programming language is that arrays start at zero. So the first element in an array is zero. So if you want to access that array, you would say array name, and then you would have a bracket zero, and then close bracket. So that way you can grab the first element in that array. And it goes from 0 to n minus 1. So the length of the array minus 1 is the last element of the array. So let's just think of how to get a min and max values, right, from an array. First thing, if you're in a C-based programming language like C++, Python, Java, something like that, you can go ahead and sort the array. There's probably some sorting method that you can call yourself. I wouldn't try to implement one. Um, so I would sort the array or the array list or whatever it is. Call arrays.sort or array list.sort, whatever it is, collections.sort, and you sort it, right? And then if you want the max value would be the last value of the array. So it would be the array at length of the array minus 1 would be the last element. Or I think you could just say array at negative 1 or something would be the last element. Um, you would get it, that would be the max. And then the min would be the first element in an array. And then if you wanted the sum, like the median or the mean or whatever, you would go through a for loop. So for I, um, int, if you're in Java, it'd be int I. So for int I is less than um, length of, you said for int I equals 0, and then I is less than array length, um, I plus plus, and you would go through the array saying, you know, like you would have a temp variable to equal the total amount. You would have temp equals 0 outside of the for loop, and inside the for loop you would say temp equals temp plus equals. So you're adding it array at I. So you're adding all the elements in the array, and afterwards you would get the value of the temp, and to get the average, you would just take the temp value and divide it by the array length. The total number of elements that are in the array, and then you would get your average. Another good thing is to know about objects. If it's a C-based language, if it's Java or C Sharp, they are strictly object-oriented languages. That means you need a class in order to run them. And a class is a form of object. It's a real-world thing like a car, a tree, whatever. So your main class is what you run things in Java. Python and C++, They can be object oriented, but they're not really strictly object oriented. In Python, you can do a lot of stuff without creating a class object. Um, what else can I tell you? If you're going to program something and you don't know how to do it, the first good thing to do is to think about what you're supposed to do in small steps. So for instance, say you wanted to bring in data from a big data source or whatever, and you didn't have enough memory. Well, you could break it up line by line, and then for each line, process that information, you know, or break it down by 100,000 lines or whatever. Anyway, that's just some programming language stuff I know. Um, some of the basics. Remember that if you are starting out, try Python or JavaScript or something, because Java and all those other languages are hard.